That's crazy, as the tables have turned and now Amber Heard is the one who's criticized by so many people. But why is she the subject of such a toxic response? Johnny and Amber have both accused each other of abuse. First, people thought that Johnny was the bad guy, but now, fans think that Amber Heard is the one who is doing it for attention, enjoying the drama, manipulating the truth, exaggerating reality. Amber Heard's assistant exposes her for lying. Moreover, people were absolutely furious about Amber Heard's former assistant, Kate James, exposed Amber Heard for stealing her sexual assault story. For so many women struggling from abuse, it was difficult to hear about. That's true that Amber really lied about the fact that Johnny abused her, and the whole world was shocked after Kate James, Amber Heard's former personal assistant, alleged that Heard had appropriated the story of being a sexual violence survivor, giving evidence at London's Royal Courts of Justice on the 7th day of Johnny Depp's libel trial against the publisher of The Sun newspaper. However, the fact that Kate exposed Amber is really good for Johnny, as now he is suing Newsgroup newspapers and journalist Dan Wooton for an article on the Sun website that described him as a wife-beater. Depp denies that he was violent towards Heard, to whom he was married from 2015 to 2017. Kate gave evidence in support of Depp and said she had told Heard that she was raped at Machete Point in Brazil about 25 years ago. She said she was shocked to learn that in a witness statement, Heard misrepresented and exploited the incident. She referred directly to a violent rape that occurred to me 26 years ago, and she twisted it into her own story and she used it for her own use, Kate James said by video link from Los Angeles. I am a sexual violence survivor, and that's very, very serious to take that stance if you are not one, she said. When Kate read Amber Heard's submissions, she said, "To my utter shock and dismay, I discovered that Miss Heard had in fact stolen my sexual violence conversation with her and twisted it into her own story to benefit herself. This of course caused me extreme distress and outrage that she would dare to attempt to use the most harrowing experience of my life as her own narrative." Referring to Amber Heard's drinking habits, James said in a witness statement, Amber would drink vast quantities of red wine each night. Plus, in evidence given remotely from Los Angeles, Kate James also said she had regularly received a barrage of drunken, abusive, and incoherent text messages from Heard between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. In her declaration, James outlines how she spent large amounts of time with Heard during her employment, sometimes up to 7 days a week, often in intimate settings. That is significant, she says, because many of Heard's allegations of physical abuse date to that time period, and she never saw any evidence of it. Instead, she claims to have seen ample evidence of Heard's own abusive behavior, which was often directed at her. Kate James, Amber Heard's former personal assistant, alleged that Heard had appropriated her story of being a sexual violence survivor, giving evidence at London's Royal Courts of Justice on the 7th day of Johnny Depp's libel trial against the publisher of The Sun newspaper. Depp is suing Newsgroup newspapers and journalist Dan Wooton for an article on the Sun website that described him as a wife-beater. Depp denies that he was violent towards Heard, to whom he was married from 2015 to 2017. James, who was Heard's personal assistant from 2012 and 2015, was giving her evidence by video link from Los Angeles. Defense attorney Sasha Wass asked if James had been influenced by Mr. Depp and his associates who have encouraged you to give this vicious evidence against Heard. Absolutely not, James said. She added, I'm here for my own reasons. I'm a sexual violence survivor, and that's very, very serious to take that stance if you are not one and I am one. That's the reason I'm here, because I take offense. Depp's attorney, David Sherborne, asked her, can you explain why you take exception to Miss Heard's allegations against Depp? James replied, because Miss Heard referred to a conversation we had about me being violently raped at Machete Point in Brazil, and she used it as her own story. She referred directly to a violent rape that occurred to me 26 years ago, and she twisted it into her own story and she used it for her own use. James also alleged that Heard would send a barrage of drunk text messages between the hours of 2 and 4 in the morning on a regular basis. On an almost daily basis, she described the messages as abusive. We have very, very few texts between you and Miss Heard, only the ones that Miss Heard has provided to the defendants, Sherborne said. James explained, I was using a phone that was logged into her iCloud account. She added, when she terminated my employment, she deleted all of the texts from the cloud, only texts that were abusive. She saved the ones that weren't. James was asked about an incident that is said to have occurred in May 2014 on a private jet traveling from Boston to LA, when Depp allegedly kicked Heard in the back. Wass read a text sent by Heard to James after the alleged incident, which read, "I have to leave JD. He's just freaked out on me. He's drinking again. It's bad. Worse than ever." Wass asked if James remembered the message, to which he replied, "Yes, I remember the day very clearly. Trust me." Wass said Heard returned to LA and stayed in a hotel, to which James said, "I don't know why, because she had an apartment. That apartment was still fully functioning and livable." James added, "She went to the Chateau, the hotel, with 4 of her friends, and they basically had a pool party, drinking and swimming and sunbathing and having fun." Earlier in the day, the court heard evidence from Depp's estate manager, Kevin Murphy. He was asked about the defecation incident when feces were found in the couple's bed after Heard's 30th birthday party in April 2016. Murphy said Heard claimed this was just a harmless prank. This detail of the case has been an attempt to make Miss Heard appear disgusting and absurd in the public eye, Wass said. Murphy replied, "It is just the truth." Murphy also spoke about events in 2015 when Heard took her Yorkshire Terriers Pistol and Boo into Australia illegally, and Murphy claimed Heard told him to make a false statement about the dogs. Miss Heard demanded verbally that I myself make a false witness statement regarding the dogs' illegal entrance into Australia, Murphy told the court. I expressed that I was extremely uncomfortable with doing so, to which Miss Heard responded with words to the effect of, "Well, I want your help on this. I wouldn't want you to have a problem with your job." Miss Heard's threatening language made me feel anxious and uneasy. Wass said Heard denies asking anyone to make a false statement over the dog smuggling incident. Amber was regularly verbally and mentally abusive and would often scream at me over the smallest things, she wrote. She would fly into blind rages where no one could reason with her, and even if I was trying to offer an explanation, I didn't think that she could hear me as she was so angry. Kate James claims the actress would often binge on wine and drugs, specifically magic mushrooms and MDMA, and text her abuse throughout the night. When I woke up in the morning, there would almost always be a barrage of incoherent abuse sent to me from Amber by text between around 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. I discovered later that she had gone ahead and deleted all evidence of abusive texts from that iCloud account, she claimed. The abuse was so severe that James said it left her emaciated from stress and caused concern among her friends and family. In her declaration, James outlines how she spent large amounts of time with her during her employment, sometimes up to 7 days a week, often in intimate settings. That is significant, she says, because many of Heard's allegations of physical abuse date to that time period, and she never saw any evidence of it.